Seeing none, the minutes are approved. We will move to a period of opening roll call. Pro Tem Dean, you may begin. Please come to order. After.
SPG Benigno.
Howdy.
Chief Justice Smith.
Howdy.
Speaker Mitchell.
Howdy.
Myself, Chair Solomka.
Howdy.
Chair Page.
Howdy.
Chair Finney.
Howdy.
Chair Landers.
Howdy.
Chair Carlson.
Howdy.
Chair Hood.
Howdy. Howdy.
Chair Bosworth. Bill.
Howdy.
Gordon.
Howdy.
Allen.
Howdy.
Walker. White. Birch.
Howdy.
Renfro.
Howdy.
Smith. Chapman. DeBoer.
Howdy.
Rose.
Please stay in order.
Ferguson.
Howdy.
De Leon.
Howdy.
Hendricks. Powers.
Howdy.
Strachan. I said it. Hunter Brown.
Howdy.
Nick Brown. Henderson. Hess.
Howdy.
Lambert. Robinson. Turpin.
Howdy.
Cook.
Howdy.
Sweet.
Howdy.
Wright. Blair. Cox.
Howdy.
Kubiart.
Howdy.
Kublak. Luce.
Howdy.
Schaller.
Howdy.
Day.
Howdy.
Lavin.
Howdy.
Roseanne.
Howdy.
Clark. Lewis.
Clark. Yeah, howdy.
Lewis. Pass. Price. Riolas.
Howdy.
Blackman. Bonin. Brennan.
Howdy.
Chen. Davis. David. Emmons.
Howdy.
Giles. Gill. Hemphill. Hutton.
Howdy.
Krog.
Howdy.
Langston.
Howdy.
Loving.
Howdy.
Mathis.
Howdy.
McDonald.
Howdy.
Mendoza. Murtha.
Howdy.
Simpson.
Howdy.
Statham.
Howdy.
Strother.
Howdy.
Turner.
Howdy.
Madam Pro Tem, do we have a quorum?
Hold on.
I'm here if you want to add that. Please.
Close. We got Stephen Walker. Are we? Crystal House. And Sank coming in.
Thank you so much.
Please stay in order.
Yeah. More than enough.
And we have a quorum. So we'll move into the invocation and pledge of allegiance, led by ad hoc chair Jacory. Yes, sir.
I tried.
All right, please stand up, everybody. Dear Lord, Lord, we thank you for bringing us together. We thank you for this body, God, and we thank you for the work that we do here. Lord, we just ask you to wash us clean, God, so that we can come before your throne and ask you for these petitions. Lord, as we come here today, Lord, help us do your work on earth. Lord, help us to have an efficient meeting, God, and help us not to be for ourselves, but to remember that we are here for the Texas A&M student body. Lord, we thank you, we praise you, we magnify your name. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. very much, Chair Clark. It will now move into a period of mission statement and acting honor code given by Senator Gordon.
The Texas A&M University Student Senate represents all students in order to enhance the Texas A&M experience within our university and communities through research, legislation, and advocacy in accordance with the core values of our institution. And the core values are an Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do.
Senator Gordon, we will now move to a period of the singing of the spirit of Aggie.
Computer. No.
Sunday goes the proudest hope of the school it thinks so grand, but there's a spirit can never be told. It's the spirit of Aggie land. With the Aggies are we. True to each other as Aggies can be. We've got to fight, boys, we've got to fight. We've got to fight for maroon and white. After the Bruce said all the rest, and join the best. But we're the Aggies are we. We're from Texas A&C.
Excellent. We'll now move into a period of open forum, beginning with Samuel Marinov, a computer engineer living off campus, fighting Texas A class of 2015.
Hey,
Got 5 minutes beginning. Howdy.
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 Those of you who don't know me, I'm the exit guy over there. I just wanted to say congrats to my fellow Aggies getting their Fight Texas Aggie rings this coming weekend. I also like to say, remember, it's not just that pride where you beat the hell at 90 hours. It's also a moral responsibility for you to that A&M outside of politics. And with that, enjoy your ring day. Show up Wilson Field. Like Georgia.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marinov? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will now move to a period of old business, beginning with SB 6864, the Locale App Bill. If the presenters could please come forward, you will have 10 minutes beginning. Howdy.
Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
We've been up here before. For those of you, it's been a while, so we'll jog up your memory. The Local App Bill is a app that's created by Aggies for Aggies to help Aggies that are being introduced into Aggie land. Pretty much what it does is that it lists opportunities for people to get involved. It has events, it has mixers or recruitment mixers. There's a lot, everything that you could possibly ever need to being a new Aggie, it has. There were some problems with navigation. I've spoken to the developer of the app. He is releasing an update that will clear all those problems away. I ask y'all to approve this bill because it not only assists Aggies, but it has the opportunity to do a lot.
All right, we'll start with questions from Senator
Senator Turner, just for purposes of my board here, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to have them tell?
Oh, okay, yes, of course. So what this bill would do would have this app be a recommended app for incoming students. So at fish camp or at the open house for incoming students, they would just say, hey, yeah, there is a Giga Week app, but there's also this other app that not only serves you during Giga Week, but also throughout the year.
We'll now go to Senator Yoss.
Community off on campus. So just to make sure that I'm understanding it right, we're not saying, oh, yes, this app can be used because anybody can use it already. What we're saying is that we should recommend it to new students.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the presenters? Oh, yes, Senator Powers.
Senator Powers, College of Education, permission to preface.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned something about how the app is going to include recruitment opportunities and different things about that. Can you go into more detail of exactly how organizations would be able to be on this app? Is there something?
It operates almost identically to how Facebook creates events. So you open the app, you press the little plus button, you can literally create whatever events you want. So it's open to anybody who wants to do anything. When you open the app on a particular day, you can press the map button and it has a bunch of little local pinpoints to what's going on in that particular day for events that want to advertise themselves.
Basically, it consolidates all those annoying Facebook events that you get on Facebook and puts it into one app so that students can have more opportunity to see everything that's going on.
We'll now go to Senator Strawford.
Senator Strawford on campus. So would this app be restricted to use only by either students or recognized ANM organizations, or can anybody make an event at any time?
Well, see, that's the thing. So right now, this app has been conceived in Aggieland by Aggies for Aggies. Obviously, the developer wants it to diffuse to larger places. So it's created for anybody to use. However, its origin is to help Aggies today.
We'll now go to Senator Hutton.
Senator Hutton, on-campus caucus. Are you aware of other instances where we're using kind of private company and promoting that to promote it in this way? Are there other instances where stuff like this is happening other than the A&M created apps like the TAMU app and the Giga Week app?
I'm not aware of that, no. Are you aware of this?
No.
He's looking back and forth. Are there any other questions? Yes, Senator Crawford.
Senator Craig, off-campus caucus. I just had a question. How do you obtain the information, or how does the app obtain information to be given to students? Is it from organizations that are submitting information? Is there a way to edit what's posted or what isn't posted? And how does that work for the best communication from student body?
That's a great question. So I would imagine that the PR person of a particular organization would create the event on the app. And at that point, editing that particular event would be solely for that PR person. I don't think it's outside people can edit it or anything like that. I don't know if that's your question. However,
I guess what I'm asking, is there like a spamming method, or is it?
no, not at all. Not at all. It's you will receive no notifications other than when you open the app.
And I think I missed one question answered before Senator Pause. Was there any? Seeing none, we'll go to Senator Pause.
Senator Cross on campus. Is there any way to monitor the posts? I don't know.
Currently, I cannot honestly say that I'm aware of any way to monitor. I do believe that the developers of the app have some kind of system in place.
And also, just to follow up on that, the way it works is the most popular events are going to go to the top. So you'll see those, and anything that's not, anything that's no one's interested in, it won't really come up. So any like spam, buy my dog off of Craigslist, something like that, it's not going to go to the top. That makes sense.
Yeah, the popularity of the event, the more popular the event, the more it's above the newsfeed, the more that it's advertising.
I go to Senator Powers.
Senator Powers, College of Education. I think this is a point of information, but it's a point of information. do you guys have any sort of website we can go to or pictures that you can put up of kind of the layout that the body can see?
So I think this would be better treated as a question. I'm not gonna answer, so I'll first.
Well, at this point, the best answer I can give you is to just download the free app, give it a try yourself. I can send an email to all of y'all. It'll probably be written by the developer of the app because he knows the most about it. But I would ask you, if you really want to give it a try, just try it yourself.
Are there any other questions for our presenters? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move into a period of debate. You guys may leave the floor. Is there any debate against the locale? Yes, Senator Couillard.
Point of order.
Yes.
Senator Couillard, College of Liberal Arts. I'm going to refer this back to committee.
Okay, while that is not a point of order, I will still, it's just a motion to move it back to committee. I'll still entertain that. So is there a second to move this back to committee? And also, what committee would you like to refer to?
Where was it?
Student services.
Student services.
Can I say one thing?
Not right now. So, sorry about that. So, is there a second to move it back to student services? There are multiple seconds. This is a debatable motion, so it will now move into debate against moving back to committee, in which Senator Chair Clark, you may have the floor to debate against if you would like.
I will say, I will say that there are a limited amount of opportunities for this bill to be ratified, and this bill will do the most good over the summer when it can be recommended. If this bill is passed in the fall, it will already miss an opportunity for an entire new class of Aggies to be able to use it. So you can send it to student services, but I don't think anything's going to change, and it can only do good.
Are you yielding your time?
Yeah, I yield.
Okay, if you guys are pleased, I'll recognize ad hoc chair. If you guys can move.
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
How many more Senate meetings do we have in the 6-day session?
So we have this meeting, we have one more, and then we have a joint section after that. So if you were to pass a bill this meeting, and it were to be vetoed, then we would need the third meeting. If it's not going to be vetoed, then you'd be fine passing it through the next meeting. So, anyways, if you guys could please vacate the floor, we'll go to debate 4 with Senator Couillard.
Senator Couillard, College of Liberal Arts. I just think it might be a good idea to get more information on the bill. Several senators have asked a lot of questions about where it's coming from, who are the people running it. We still have time to pass it. I don't think our president would veto this. It's not very controversial. I think it's fine to give it more time. We do have one more meeting that we can pass it in. So I would like time to add, or Senator Hutton.
Senator Hutton off campus caucus. I'd like to echo what Senator Couillard said. I think that a lot of questions are still to be answered about this app, and I also believe that there are a lot of opportunities for things like whether A&M is allowed to endorse a private or a private for-profit company that is promoting something to students, if that is the case. And so I think that those issues could be better answered in a committee setting, and I would encourage you to try to vote this bill back to committee. And with that, I yield my time to the floor.
Floor has been yielded to. We'll now go to Chair Sonka for debate against.
Chair Sonka, rules and regs. First of all, A&M endorses all manner of private corporations. You get on your email account, Google's for profit. This is not a big deal, guys. All it is an app. I know freshman year I would have liked to know what was going on around me. And all it is an app that students can voluntarily use to learn more about what's going on in the street. It's already been heard by the Student Services Committee, and they're the ultimate authority on whether or not this needs to be vetted by the committee process, and they voted to send this through. To refer back to committee, every bill we pass, could have further research. But the fact is, we need to get moving on things like this. This is something that's only for students. I mean, it doesn't cost us anything It's something that's totally voluntary in terms of who's using it, and if you don't want to use it, just don't use it. But I know as a freshman or even as a sophomore, I would have loved to know what was going on around me. And this is an app that will enable students to do that. And so with that, I'll yield my time to Chair Page.
1 minute and 20 seconds remaining.
Academic affairs. I'll start by saying, again, echoing what the previous speaker said, Texas A&M regularly endorses things within various departments or at various levels. This is a free application. It's not like it's charging students to actually use it. So this is in no way imparting a fee or any kind of, tuition augmentation upon what we already pay as students. Also, the fact that we are constantly competing with other schools within Texas and abroad to get the best and brightest students to A&M. And oftentimes it comes down to a measure of convenience. This app is something that very much adds to that convenience of understanding what the campus is about, understanding what's available to students, either touring the campus or looking into A&M. And I see no reason for it to go back to committee, have the same conversations that already been had, and continue on with, very, very, kind of unnecessary conversation that's should have already happened at this point. Continuing on, this is something we should already pass through, we should advocate for. It's a free app. Anybody's, very, very, if you want to download it, you can. If you don't want to, that's completely fine. It's something that's going to be beneficial to anybody and not detrimental to anyone. And with that, I move previous question.
Previous question has been moved and duly seconded. All in favor of moving to previous question, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. There's the chair, that passes. We'll now move to a period of voting on SB 6864, the local app bill. All in favor?
Point of order, Senator Hutton, Kansas Caucus. Are we not voting on the motion to send it back to committee and not?
Very well. All in favor of sending this bill back to committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
And the ears of the chair, that fails. We were just at the motion to move move back to committee. We will now recognize debate against. So is there any debate against SB 6864, the local app bill? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We will move into a period of voting. All in favor of passing SB 6864, the local app bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And there's the chair, that passes. We will now move into a period of presentation for SB 6876, the Silver Taft Bus Stoppage Bill. If the presenters could please come forward, they will have 15 minutes beginning at 9.
All right, well, howdy. So this bill is pretty straightforward. This is what we presented 2 weeks ago. There's been a couple minor changes that happened in committee that we can go over, but the idea again is that oftentimes when we're attending Silver Taft, I notice that there are buses that come by during the event, and I find that to be kind of disturbing to the spirit of the event. And the fact that we shut down every other part of campus, I think that it's reasonable to ask that buses are shut down for 30 minutes close to the location of academic plaza, so that we ensure that we respect every single portion of the Silver Taft service. And you were at the committee with the changes.
Right. So one of the things that we just adjusted since the last time we presented this was we were going to have all of the on-campus bus services put on hold for that 30-minute time period, with the off-campus bus route still running at that point. This is just to alleviate some of the problems that we've had at Silver Taft, like Joseph mentioned. We felt that as far as off-campus bus routes are concerned, we want to at least give people an opportunity who live off campus to still get home if they really need to. But for those people who live on campus, everything for the most part is close enough just to walk if they really need to get somewhere. But in the event they don't, they have the option to go to Silver Taft instead.
Are there any questions for the presenters? Senator Straub.
Senator Straub on campus. Did y'all explore the option of just simply rerouting buses away from academic closet instead of just opting them altogether.
Yeah, that's in part of the changes in the bill was to include the option of that.
We didn't go over that, so one of the, we're at, I guess, further enacted that's bus route 12 and 35, that runs right along what street is that? Houston Street, so that runs like right along Military Walk right there. We were just planning on moving these routes, just to make sure that they don't interfere.
Are there any other questions? Senator Ross.
Senator Ross on campus. Have y'all talked with, I guess, the higher ups about what they think about this? Have y'all, I guess, gotten an idea of what their opinion about it is?
No, we have not. We put this bill forward in the same process that many bills go forward, which is it passes and then it goes on to the exec side and advocated for at that point.
Are there any other questions for the presenters? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move to a period of debate. Is there any debate against SB 6876, the Silver Tax Bus Stoppage Bill? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll now move to a period of voting. All in favor of approving SB 6876, the Silver Tax Bus Stoppage Bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Any as the chair, that passes. We'll now move on to new business. Yes.
Person being on campus, I have a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to pull the Reapportionment and Conference Reform Act out of the Rules and Regulations Committee.
So that motion has been seconded. So Rules and Regulations, Chair Sonka, is that a debatable motion?
Yes.
Seeing as that is a debatable motion, is there any debate against bringing out the Reapportionment and Caucus Reform Bill from Rules and Regulations Committee? Yes. Senator
Point of personal preference, Senator Hutton off-campus caucus, where is this located? Just in the drive under the Rules and Regs Committee?
It is indeed. Seeing no debate against, we'll now move to a period of voting on bringing this out of committee. So all in favor of bringing out the Reapportionment and Caucus Reformation Bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And the chair, that passes. We'll now move to a period of presentation for the Caucus Reapportionment and something Reformation Bill.
Just so y'all know.
Senator Strawberry, sir.
Point of information, why was this not brought on the agenda originally, is that last in the committee?
I'm not sure.
I can talk.
I'm sure it will be addressed during the presentation.
Okay, howdy y'all. So due to kind of drive malfunction and error based off of the bills that are presented in the session, last meeting, there wasn't in the Rules and Regulations Committee folder for the time that we wanted to have the meeting. So the chair at the time did hold a meeting because he didn't have legislation. But I talked to him and spoke to him afterwards, and I don't believe there was any changes that were going to be made because it's pretty simple and straightforward deal. So moving forward, just a reminder, this bill is in the Rules and Regulations Committee folder now, so y'all feel free to look at it. And the drive is slowly being fixed. So we're excited about that. And so what this bill does is it just takes off the university department's representative and adds that person to just be a holistic on campus. And so a great example would be, technically he lives in White Creek, but he's serving as an on-campus, just an on-campus senator in general. So they go through the same housing process, they pay their bills the same way, they apply the same way, and Res Life still checks over them just as much as they do a dorm. So I figured instead of having those empty seats every year, or seats that we have to flip 19, there's a 19-way time to flip coin flips, and then they don't get full because no one wants it, we allow someone on campus to serve technically that position. And so that's just all this is doing. It's not adding any more on campus, it's just reapportioning the way that it's set right now.
And as somebody who lives on campus, I can tell you that there is no difference from on apartments than any other place. So I think it's fitting for us to push and make this a new sequence.
And I talked to the election commissioner, and I talked to Callie about it. She said that she thought this would have solved a lot of issues last year, because there are plenty of people running on campus that were interested and could have filled this spot. So it's not open in the 69 moving forward. It's just trying to make sure that we have a full Senate every year. Which would be nice.
Are you looking for? Okay, I'll recognize myself first for questions. Is this a true reapportionment bill in that, did you modify any of the number of seats allocated to off-campus engineering, et cetera, based off of the campus demographics? Because as you know, we're required each year to pass a reapportionment bill, which is just that basically takes our demographics by college, whether they're living on or off campus, and runs the numbers to see how many seats they should be represented upon in Senate.
So I named it this way just based off of, I asked if that was, could have been a correct title, and I was told it was. I would be more than happy to add in the beginning of it on-campus reapportionment and caucus reformat, if that would make more sense or anyone happier. But other than that, it's a reapportionment and caucus reformat. So it's just on campus. I know there's going to be a bill later on, a holistic one. I wasn't aware of that at the time that I wrote this, and I just would like to see this pushed through because I think, as person, I think that this is the biggest issue we have in caucuses right now.
Very well. All right. Yes, Chair Page.
Chair Page, acting affairs, does 6-31 on-campus versus off-campus accurately represent the, I guess, proportions of students living on and off campus?
So I contacted Res Live, and they're getting back to me on those numbers just because next year is going to be different than this year. It's changing significantly each year based off the closing in the dorms with what's happening with the quad. So they didn't have specific numbers for me for this last year or who right now is registered for next year. So I just didn't want to edit that without having like actual stats. Just wanted to fix the university apartment problem.
Thank you.
Which most of those apartments right now, they're not at capacity. So take that in consideration as well. Those apartments aren't full.
I'll recognize myself again. Would you be willing to strike all instances of the word reapportionment from this bill, just to make it the Caucus Reform Act so that we don't get it confused in our archives and in the future with our reapportionment bill?
I'm fine with striking that and also additionally adding on campus to it because I think that would clarify even further. So sure, no problem with that.
Excellent. Are there any other questions for our presenters? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move into, yes, Senator Lewis.
Senator Lewis, Liberal Arts. So you're talking about striking out them having a representative altogether?
No, their representatives would still be on campus because they're considered on campus students. They follow the same rules, most of the same rules that students who are living in a dorm still have to follow. So they would still have that representative. They would just go for the holistic on campus and university apartments, which is what used to happen before we had university apartments caucus.
Commissioner Paul.
Sir.
Now, you said, Record, that you live on campus. Are you yourself eligible to live in the university apartments, though?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a question or a motion? All right, thank you very much. We'll now move, thank you all very much. We'll now move to a period of debate against this bill. Is there any debate against? Yes, Pro Tem Dean.
Pro Tem Dean, I have an amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to strike, I believe the only part that it says reapportionment is in the beginning. So strike all instances of that and also add on campus. So the on campus caucus.
Excellent. So changing, the amendment is to change reapportionment and to on campus. Is there a second? There's a second by Chair Page. You may now briefly go into debate for your amendment.
This is an amendment because the speaker believes that it'd be a good idea, and I agree. And for the spirit of being along, we're going to do it. And, so basically, it just further clarifies to the archives when I print it out and put it in the folder. Yeah.
Excellent. Are you yielding your time?
I go time, but
okay. Is there any debate against this motion? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll now move to a period of voting on the amendment. All in favor of approving this amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Aye.
The ears of the chair, that passes. We'll We'll now move into a period of debate against, resuming with Person D, who yields the floor. Is there any debate for this bill? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll now move to a period of voting on this bill. All in favor of approving this bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And the chair, that passes unanimously. We will now move on to new business with 6877, the Constituency Outreach Committee and Share Act. If the, yes, Senator Kubyar, you have a motion.
Yes, Senator Kubyar, College of Lords. I move to pull a bill out of campus climate inclusion.
Since we have already recognized this bill as a start of new business, we'll have to wait until after this. So if we could bring forward the bill presenters for SB 6877, we will then, you will then have 15 minutes beginning at half.
All right, guys, this is simple. Basically, the bill is not finished. The bill is not the final thing. So you can ask all the questions you want until you turn blue in the face. But again, this is not the final bill. So what I would ask for from somebody in the body is that we move to put this into the ad hoc committee instead of the Rules and Regulations Committee.
Yeah, but just a brief explanation of what it is so far is currently the Diversity Commission of the Executive Cabinet does not have a counterpart in Senate, so this kind of helps alleviate that issue and also encourages this committee to reach out to other organizations and students that are not in the student senate or student government to get their opinions on things that we can do better as a student body.
And I've been speaking to members of the CA committee and the CA chair themselves, and they've told me that they wish they had more things to do. Therefore, I would love to give them the opportunity to have the duties of the ad hoc committee. It's been very excellently chaired by our chair right here. The thing is with constituency affairs itself, constituency affairs as a name seems to give the explanation that it reaches out to all of our constituencies and conducts some sort of communication. For now, from what I understand, they have their tabling hours and they have had 3 valid responses in the last 2 years. So it's not the most effective and efficient way to communicate with their constituents, nor is it the most effective and efficient way to communicate with the student body. Therefore, in this bill, even though it is not, of course, finalized, it has these new proposals to give them the duties of our committee once our committee is concluded at the end of this session. And so we wish for the following session, the 6th in that session, to carry on the mission of this particular committee, in addition to their task of reaching out and, of course, hopefully improving their constituency outreach, which is why we gave it this name. Now, if anybody else has anything to say, we covered it. Yeah, we'll have to ask some questions. And motion, please.
Thank you very much. Senator Powers, did you have a motion or a question?
Senator
Motion,
Powers called clarification. I have a motion to move this to the ad hoc committee.
So, a motion has been made to move this bill to the ad hoc committee. It has been duly seconded. If you guys please vacate the floor, so we can have a motion. Is there any debate against sending this bill to the ad hoc committee? Yes, Senator Shaw.
Senator Shaw on campus. I'll be brief. Why not ask some preliminary questions so that we kind of feel out what direction this bill's going in and have, if you have any concerns, something that you would like, just have the opportunity to ask questions before it disappears in the committee and then appears before the body and pass on. With that time, I yield my time to Chairman Carlson.
Chair Carlson, Student Services. I just want to echo what the Senator was saying. I'm not opposed to this motion eventually, but I just like to get a chance to ask some questions a little bit about the bill, and then we can motion after the question and answer period about where the appropriate place to send the bill is. That I yield to the floor.
What do we yield to? We'll now go to ad hoc Chair Clark.
Guys, the reason why I wanted this to go to the ad hoc committee is because if anybody has any questions, it would be best to go to the committee and ask your questions there. That's a more intimate space. And I think that would be the best for this bill, especially some of the content that is in it. So I yield to the floor. Well,
Floor has been yielded to 2, and I have to recognize Senator Murtha just on first.
Senator Murtha off campus.
Please come forward when you debate.
So I personally just think that we should be able to ask questions. I also think that this should go to the R&R committee. I mean, yeah, if the diversity committee, the ad hoc committee wants to come, they can, and we can still have that personal space. But the Rules and Regs committee is the committee that deals with these changes to any of the committees or the Constitution or Code. And so I believe that we should have a process, that committee that's been working on these things, and then bring the ad hoc committee on board, and we'll have a better process overall. With that, I yield to Senator Strother.
Senator Strother's off campus. Can the ad hoc committee not, or I guess point of information, can the ad hoc committee have legislation if they're not a recognized committee?
They can. So, Senator Murtha, you have the recognition to yield.
I yield to Senator Roseanne.
Senator Roseanne, College of Science. The thing is not all those can make the meetings. We have other meetings going on. And it's just, there's a reason we have questions now. It'd give us a good chance to just shoot one or two in, get some things confirmed, and then move to that. And with that, I move to previous question.
Previous question has been moved. Is there a second? There are multiple seconds. All in favor of moving to previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Chair calls on division. All in favor of moving to previous question, please stand. And all opposed. If you're already standing, please raise your hand. And with a vote of 42-9, the motion to previous question passes. We'll now move into a period of voting on whether or not to send SB 6877, the Constituency Outreach Committee and Chair Act, to the ad hoc committee. All in favor of sending this bill to the ad hoc committee, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Chair calls it under division. All in favor of sending this bill to the ad hoc committee, please stand. And all opposed. And by a vote of 28-18, that fails. We'll now move back into our period of question and answer. So if the presenters could please come forward, they will entertain questions from the body pending other motion. Yes, Senator Hutton.
Point of information, Senator Hutton off campus caucus, with a vote of 28-18, does it need a 2/3 majority or?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Sending a bill to committee requires a 2/3 majority. Are there any questions for our presenter, Senator Strauss?
Senator Strauss off campus. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't there already executive positions designed to form maybe similar to ad hoc, such as like the diversity, community diversity?
Yeah, diversity commission. Well, basically, we haven't been doing it the right way, because what happens now is that the diversity commission has so much on it. They have to program, they have to plan, and then execute. What needs to happen is that we need to have a committee that is gonna be the one that puts the legislation out, that researches everything, and then the commission itself is the one that's gonna be executing the way it should work. And that is why we're putting this forward.
We'll now go to Senator Murtha.
Senator Murtha on campus. Why do you think that something that would change the code should go to a committee?
Yes, Chair Leonard, you have a point.
Point of order, it says in here that refer to committee majority vote.
Very well. This bill is referred to the ad hoc committee. We'll now move to, yes. Senator Trotter.
Point of information, would it be in order motion to move that bill from ad hoc committee to the rules and regulations committee?
That would indeed be in order. Yes.
So just for all their on this, I move to pull the bill we just referred to ad hoc committee, move to rules and regulations.
That motion has been made and duly seconded. Is there any debate against this motion? I'll begin with ad hoc Chair Clark.
All right, guys, I feel like I'm beating the same drum here. There are a lot of things in this bill that are very intimate, and I think that in a committee setting, asking questions is the best way we need to do this. We've already sent it to the ad hoc committee. Doing this is, I think, crazy and a waste of our time. So I will yield to Aubrey.
For the dean.
Pro to dean.
Or Aubrey, it's fine. Y'all, I don't really understand why we make an ad hoc committee to write legislation if we're never gonna let them. At that point, if we're just doing that, it's just a PR stunt that Senate's gonna reach out to diversity and then allow other, there's no reason to make an entire committee for it if we're not gonna allow them to then focus on legislation that's important to them. And as soon as they write legislation, be like, well, now it's gonna go to someone who has a real job. That doesn't make any sense. Just let them handle this bill, and specifically is involved with diversity. They've been working with the diversity commissioner on it. Chair Bosworth has been involved in it. There's no reason why the rules and regulations can't come in and help advise. It's silly. I thought I'd go to
Chair of Finance.
1 minute.
2818 was the vote. Hey! 2818 was the vote to move this committee. We've already voted as a body to move this to the ad hoc committee. We've already made that decision. Furthermore, as far as the argument that we send this bill to the RR committee because that legislation only fits the RR committee, there's a bill currently in the ad hoc committee that could very well go into student services. This is a bill that applies to diversity. It was written, if you look at the authors of the bill, the authors who are on this bill are in that committee. Every single individual that is involved with this bill, who has been on it, who understands the legislation. I'm not saying RR wouldn't understand the legislation, but the ones who inwardly wrote this, as the senator said, have already been involved in it. So let's just keep it in that committee. We've already voted that way. It makes sense. And with that, I yield to Senator Chip.
You have 7 seconds. Time has been yielded to the floor. And with that, I will recognize myself for debate for this motion. Speaker Mitchell off campus. The reason I'm rising today to debate for this motion is for a simple point. The bill, if it were to be passed today, is out of order because it modifies 2 different sections of the code. The reason I want this to go to the Rules and Regulations Committee is because the Rules and Regulations Committee is the most prudent committee to go through something that modifies the code, and that's the reason we send every single thing that modifies the code to the Rules and Regulations Committee. The argument is, if somebody from the Rules and Regulations Committee wants to sit in on the ad hoc committee, which I created and appointed, then they can come and do so. I argue that somebody from the ad hoc committee can come and sit in on the Rules and Regulations Committee just as easily. That being said, I yield my time to Senator Murphy. Do you have a motion?
Hold on. Senator Kubier?
Point of information.
Yes, stand and state your point, please.
Senator Kubier, College of Liberal Arts. Is there not a way to create a joint committee meeting between RR and the ad hoc committee?
I'm not aware of any mechanism to create such a committee within our code.
Would Affirmative.
Senator Clark, do you have a point?
Point of information, aren't there RR committee members on the committee currently?
I'm not sure what relevance that has, but I don't know. Senator, or Chair Hood, do you have a point?
Yes,
State your point.
Chair Hood, point of parliamentary procedure. What two different parts of the code is this changing? Because my understanding is it's only modifying the city bylaws.
Not sure that's exactly a point of parliamentary procedure. I'll refer that to the person who made the argument. Speak for me.
Okay, so if you scroll down, keep scrolling down. This point here, it says that it modifies Senate bylaws, but the bill authors were mistaken. Keep scrolling down. It actually, this right here, where the Diversity Commission is not established under the Senate bylaws, it's established under the statutes of the Senate. So this bill, if it were to be passed today, is out of order, and I want to send it to the Rules and Regulations Committee because
that is correct. Senator Lewis, do you have a point?
Senator Lewis, on campus caucus, following up the information, couldn't we just strike out that one clause to make sure it only interferes with one aspect?
You can amend the bill at any time. Senator Kubier, do you have another point?
Yes. Senator Kubier, College of Arts. Isn't there precedent for having joint committee meetings before?
I'm not aware of any such precedent. With that, we are going to go back into recognition for Senator Bertha for debate 4. You have a minute and 32 seconds beginning at half.
All right, howdy, Senate. So by us saying that it should come to rules and regs, that by no way means that we think that we're a better committee. We simply think that an act is supposed to come to our committee. And so while this is created by the ad hoc committee for diversity, and it is about diversity, it directly affects this body and the constitution that upholds it and the bylaws. So it should be going through the Rules and Regs Committee that's been dealing with these bylaws and knows them probably better than most people in here because we've been working with it for nearly a year. That in no way means that we're going to change the legislation. We're just going to make sure that it works best. And the ad hoc committee would be more than welcome to come to our meeting. We've had packed meetings before. I mean, standing room only. So I don't know why this is such a big deal when it should go to the committee that works on this kind of legislation. If there was a bill about buses and transportation, we wouldn't be sending it to LA, we'd be sending it to student services. I mean, this is a constitutional bylaw bill, but sent to the right committee. Yield to Strother.
Senator Strother, you have 20 seconds.
Senator Strother off campus. I'm going to briefly read something from the bylaw, or from the SBA code that talks about what the Rules and Regulations Committee is supposed to do. So, this committee shall be assigned to consider all legislation pertaining to the operations of the Texas A&M Student Government Association and the Student Senate, including but not limited to proposed amendments and additions to SGA Constitution and the Senate bylaws.
Please finish your sentence.
It belongs in our court.
With that, the period for debate 4 has expired. Now, Senator Hutton, do you have a motion?
Point of information, Senator Hutton, off-campus caucus. Is there a place where we can find what the description of the ad hoc committee is?
If there is, I'm not aware of it. Senator Clark, you have another point?
Point of personal privilege, can you go on the, I guess, the city webpage, and the description should be there. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I will say you can email that out, but we need to continue debate now. So
Point of order. The senator asked for a point of personal preference.
Right, chair considers that to be, over and above the usual points. If you want to email that out, we're going to go ahead and continue debate with debating, starting with Senator Kubier. You have 2.5 minutes beginning at howdy.
Senator Kubier, College of Liberal Arts. Y'all, I kind of agree. I think that RR should have a hand in this meeting, but I see no reason why there shouldn't be a joint committee hearing. That way, members of both committees can have a voting say on where it goes. And I think that's the issue. The other side keeps bringing up, oh, they're welcome to attend, they're welcome to attend. They need to be active members in voting on whether that bill, is fine, is good, should pass or not. I agree with the opposition saying that, yes, RR should probably have a candidate because it is in the Senate bylaws, but I think it should be a joint committee meeting with that. I yield to Chair Hood.
Chair Hood, you have a minute and 45 seconds.
Chair Hood, Finance. Several of the arguments that have been made for making sure that this goes back to the Rules and Regulations Committee, the exact same argument can be made for the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. The idea that this legislation applies to the mission statement of the Rules and Regulations Committee. This legislation also applies to the mission statement of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. The idea that Diversity and Inclusion Committee members can sit in on the Rules and Regulations Committee.
Senator Murtha, to your point.
Senator Murtha, at this point of information, does the ad hoc committee have a mission statement, and if so, what is it? What is it?
I know that.
Yes.
I'm going to refer that to Senator Clark. Senator Clark.
It does. You said you,
Yeah, I can read it.
Senator Clark, you have to address it.
what, excuse me.
Senator Murtha, it appears they do, and that's on the Senate website. Senator Hood, please continue. You have a minute and 20 seconds.
Absolutely. Just as the argument is made that that the Diversity and Inclusion Committee members can sit on the Rules and Regulations Committee members.
Senator Clark, do you have a point?
Point of personal privilege. May I read this out, please? The description of the campus climate.
Yeah, go ahead and read it out.
Campus Climate and Inclusion Committee's mission statement will be to work with the Diversity Commission, research testimonials of discrimination from minority students, address any and all constituents who are concerned or offended by the campus climate, search for solutions, and legislate on these issues.
Okay, thank you, Senator Clark. Senator Hood, you may continue.
It's going off of exactly what the senator just mentioned. Legislating on issues, making decisions based on the things that the committee discovered. This is an issue that the committee discovered, the fact that Senate needs to better address issues of inclusion and diversity within the Student Government Association, within this university. And because they made that discovery, they didn't legislate it on. It doesn't make any sense to me that they take out the very legislation they wrote and put it in another committee when their very mission statement says they will legislate and they will research and they'll make the legislation based on that research, and then they will move from there. With that, I yield the floor to, or yield my time to Chair.
Senator Hood, do you have a point?
Senator Button off campus caucus, I move the previous question.
That motion is not in order because you do not have recognition from the floor. With that, we'll recognize Chair Hood again, who has 30 seconds.
I move the previous question.
Chair Hood moves to previous question. Is there any second to move to previous question? Seeing several seconds, the motion to previous question has been made. This requires a 2/3 vote to move to previous question. All in favor of moving to previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
And the use of the chair, that fails. Senator Hood, you have
Division.
Division has been called. All in favor of moving to previous question, please stand. All opposed, please stand. By a vote of 30 to 21, that fails. Senator Hood, you still have the floor for 30 seconds.
I yield my time to Senator Clark, or ad hoc Chair Clark.
All right, really quick. Again, guys, need this in our committee. We've been looking at these issues for weeks, and if any changes are going to be made, I think it's important for us to have a say if they pass or not. So leave it in our committee. Let's kill this motion. Let's get on with our lives. I move to
Previous question has been moved. Is there a second? Senator Straucher, please state your point.
Senator Straucher, is it in order to move the same motion on the same period of debate before letting the other side debate?
In my opinion, it is in order to do so. Is there a second to hear? There's multiple seconds. State your point or motion.
Speaker Mitchell off campus, does I not lose recognition after they motion for previous question?
Based on your nodding, I'm going to rule that that's correct. Not 100% sure on that, but I think you're correct. That being said, we're going to move into a period of debate 4, starting with Senator Riojas, who has not been recognized for yet.
Senator Rios on campus. I think there's only, I guess, two reasons why the ad hoc committee will want to keep this in their committee. One, because they spearheaded the idea that we want to have it first, or two, because it would affect them. I don't think that either reason is a reason to keep it in the ad hoc committee, because one, if they were the person that spearheaded it, if, like, take for example, the student services chair, they spearheaded this idea. It should still go to rules and regulations because it deals with the code. Now, if it affects them and they believe that it should then go to their committee, it also affects CA chair. Why should it not go to the CA's committee? I don't think either of those are reasons. I think we can take a look at what actually is happening, and the fact is that the code is being amended, and so I think that it should go to RR.
Yeah, just one information, is the CA chair within the ad hoc committee?
By the code, the CA chair is totally independent of any ad hoc committee established. Please continue, Senator.
He's a member.
Please stay in order, Senator Kubiak and others. Senator Clark, please stand too.
Point of information, he is in our committee.
That's not a point of information. Please stay in order and don't use points of information as argumentative. Please continue, Senator Rios.
The CA chair has its own committee. The ad hoc chair has its own committee. It can go to one of those other committees. Those are two separate committees. If we're going to talk about who's involved, then I think it should go to the CA committee because that's what we're actually amending. But that being said, I now yield my time to Speaker Mitchell.
Speaker Mitchell off campus. Guys,
Point of order.
Yes, please stand and state your point.
Chair Hood, Finance, there are other people who have their hands raised for debate 4 who have not yet been recognized.
Senator Strother, you've been recognized for debate 4. Is there anyone else? Senator Murthy, you've been recognized. Senator Page, you're recognized for debate 4. Speaker Mitchell, please yield the floor to Chair Page.
Chair Page, Academic Affairs. I just want to mention that this is a very point of following the code. This is something that I've ran into multiple times. I've written legislation that applies to myself in Academic Affairs, that applies to CR, CA, multiple other positions that are code related, and they've gone through rules and regulations every time. Reading the code, Academic Affairs should, legislation pertaining to issues of academic advocacy, curricular grading, assessment, research, student involvement in the academic sphere. All these things I've written legislation about that was actually affecting the code. It's gone through rules and regulations, as it has for every single chair position. I don't think that we should break this precedent based on the fact that it's to an ad hoc committee necessarily. And I just advise you guys to stick with the precedents we've set. It works very well. We have a Rules and Regulations Committee that is very, very intimate with the code and can handle that very well. And within Faculty Senate, which is something that's my charge to know about, oftentimes it goes to Rules and Regulations and then goes to the committee that specifically involves it. So if you would like to send it to Rules and Regulations, let it pass and send it back to the ad hoc committee, I'd be in full support of that. With that, I yield my time to Speaker Mitchell.
Speaker Mitchell off campus. I won't waste a lot of you guys' time. I did not create the ad hoc committee to deal with the issues of the code. I created the ad hoc committee to deal with issues of campus climate. If this bill deals with issues of the code, it goes to the real committee, the top committee, the already established committee, Rules and Regulations Committee. And with that, I move for previous question.
Previous question has been moved. Mr. Renee seconds. Seeing multiple seconds, we'll move into period voting on the motion to previous question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Nay. And here's the chair, that passes. At this time, we'll go into a period of voting on the motion to refer this to the Rules and Regulations Committee. All in favor of sending this to the Rules and Regulations Committee, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Nay. The chair calls its own division. If you're in favor, please stand. All opposed, please stand. By a vote of 30 to 24, the bill is referred to the Rules and Regulations Committee.
And with that, we will move on to open session. Yes, Senator, we are. Yes, ma'am.
Senator Guerrero, College of Arts. I move to close the committee. campus climate and inclusion, whatever it's named.
Could you be more specific than the name?
Yes, the memorialized Matthew Gaines bill.
Okay, very well. So a motion to pull the Matthew Gaines Memorial Bill out of the Campus Climate Inclusion Committee has been made and seconded. Is there any debate against pulling this bill out of the committee? See none, phase one sided. Now move to period voting. All in favor of pulling this bill from the committee, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And the years of the chair, that passes. If the bill authors could please come forward, you will have 15 minutes beginning at now. They're trying to grease up their.
While it's getting pulled up, I would just like to remind everyone that this bill is just advocating for Texas A&M to look into providing some sort of memorial. So with that, they're pulling it up. It's technical difficulties. Thank you for this.
Yeah, so, okay, cool. I'm the chair of the ad hoc committee, everybody knows that. Well, the reason why this was not on the agenda and it had to be pulled out in open session is because there was a presentation and also I had to cut the meeting short for some reason. The bill is fine. I've looked at it and there's no errors in it. So that is why I think I needed to explain that. So
the only change that we made was to add Senator Turner. So the rest of the bill is exactly the same. We presented last time. Basically, this bill just commissions research to be done in the ad hoc committee on whether a statue or some type of memorialization for Matthew Gaines would be feasible / appropriate.
Yeah, and it also, so it talks about within Senate doing research within Senate in regards to the Matthew Gaines Memorial, the possibility of memorializing him in some way on campus of Texas A&M. And it also asks that the administration of Texas A&M do the same and create a committee to investigate and look into the possibility of doing this and honoring a man who persevered through a lot. And with that,
Y'all heard us talk for a really long time last time, so if y'all have questions.
Oh, listening, and we know not a lot can be done in the 68. It's about to end, but if we get this passed now, it'll be a lot easier to bring back in the 69. So that was one reason we really wanted to make it pass tonight.
And with that, if you're yielding to the floor, we'll go to Senator Yohas for questions.
Withdrawn.
That question has been withdrawn. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you all very much. Oh, yes, Senator Strauber.
Senator Strauber on campus. So who would be researching into this memorial and campus climate specifically? Would it be an ad hoc committee in Senate, or would it be some other body?
well, the bill specifically commissions the current diversity and inclusion ad hoc committee to do the research into this. What can happen if there's a need to renew legislation in the 69 session is if there is a certain piece of legislation that's passed, then it will go to that committee. If not, I have confidence that that ad hoc committee will be back in the 69. And so there's that. And then as well, it commissions the administration of Texas A&M to do it however they see fit.
Are there any other questions for our presenter? Seeing none, thank you all very much. We'll now move to period of debate. Is there any debate against this bill? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll now move to a period of voting on the bill. All in favor of passing this bill, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And here's the chair, that passes unanimously. We will now move on to a period of open session, and I will recognize Chair Carlson first for open session.
I have a resolution for open session.
Yes, sir. Please briefly state the purpose of your resolution.
To prioritize the construction of new Kane Hall.
Absolutely. Are there any seconds? There are no seconds. You may please come forward and present your resolution. Have you emailed it in?
Yeah, Aubrey should have it.
Perfect. You will have 15 minutes beginning at Patty.
So basically, it'll come in a minute. Basically, what the purpose of this is. So I met with Dr. Gardner a week or two ago, 2 weeks ago And just basically asked her, you know, how things are going over at Kane Hall. Is there anything we can do to, you know, help the transition, this and that? And she's saying at this point, you know, it's fine. You know, they're surviving over there. There's nothing specific we can do to help the transition. But her one request that we make as student government is to prioritize the new buildings. So basically, the way the situation is right now, they're building the parking garage. That was priority number one, supposed to be done before the first football game. And according to my TSAC meeting this morning, they're on track. They might actually have it done before school starts. It's a gray area. They should be done with that. But they actually have not officially signed the lease and approved what the next stage of the construction is going to be. There's some people that are pushing for the hotel to be the priority. There's others that are pushing, hey, we need to get Kane Hall back. So this kind of person's resolution is, you know, stating that, you know, we, you know, our official opinion of the student senate is, you know, we want to prioritize Kane Hall. There's one other little factor that I learned from Dr. Gartner is they're actually, all those portables are leased out. So, you know, the longer they're in the portable, the more the university is paying for those. So, you know, one other benefit of getting them back on the main campus would obviously be the, you know, loss or the saving money from those portables. But I mean, that's basically it, just, you know, prioritizing this construction. So when they do, I think, did they say April 20th is the board meeting?
That sounds about right.
Or not board meeting, but the construction approval meeting. I don't remember exactly what the organization is, but I believe they're meeting on April 20th, and hopefully we'll officially have a plan to what's the next phase of construction. So, you know, first this is just to have that as our official opinion. Do you guys have anything to add?
I just think this is a very obvious decision, Senate, because, I mean, we could go ahead and go on the side of business. Yes, we want a hotel that's going to house very rich guests that, you know, we want that built quickly to appease them, or we want this to really benefit the students that need it. Student disability services need to move back onto campus as soon as possible. I don't think this is a hard decision for anyone's mind, so I urge you to pass this through unanimously.
I actually have one thing to say. This is what I campaigned on for the 69th session. And this is, I actually asked Carlson that we can go meet with her, and this is what she wanted. So I think it's important that we do pass this bill.
And, you know, the purpose of, I mean, obviously this is something that I want to continue, or y'all, whoever's in the 69th, to continue advocating for. In the 69th, pushing forward, just, you know, making sure that this remains a priority. Even beyond the April 20th, if that even is when the final decision is made. I'm not exactly sure that's the date, but I know that's when the next meeting to discuss it is. So I encourage the 69th to continue advocating for this. But I just want, you know, this, our final push, you know, this has kind of been the theme of student services throughout the entire year, is this whole Kane Hall thing that sprung on us in October, or maybe the end of September, right around there. And so this is, I think, kind of bringing us full circle, just, you know, letting the Board of Regents know that this is still a priority for students, and we need to continue pushing to make sure that they get moved over as soon as possible.
Very, very specifically, if you have an issue with this, please ask a question, because I would love to say unanimous on it.
And with that, are there any questions for our presenters? See none? Thank you very much. We will now move into a period of debate. Is there any debate against this resolution? Seeing none, debate is decided. Yes. No? Okay, never mind. We'll now move into period voting. All in favor of passing this resolution, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. And there's the chair that passes unanimously. We'll now move back into open session, and I believe Senator Blair, did you have
a bill?
Yes, you were the first person I saw.
Yes, I do have a bill. It should be on the docs.
The Google Drive. Please briefly state the purpose of your bill.
It's called.
You can stand and address the clock.
Senator Blair, Liberal Arts. It's called the Course Catalog Improvement Bill.
Okay. Does hearing this bill have a sequence? This bill does have a sequence. So if you please come forward and present your bill. You'll have 15 minutes beginning at.
Howdy, guys.
Howdy.
Howdy, yeah.
Howdy.
I know we don't have much time left in 68, but this is actually what I campaigned on for the 68. So this is actually an important issue because I feel like whenever I pick my classes, it's a shot in the dark. I just want a little bit more specification because now I drop classes the first week. You know, I only have 1 Q-drop left, so. Yeah, I just want it to be easier for us to pick classes, and I know that it's hard for teachers to write their, you know, brief description. I just, you know, want more specifications all.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this with Grayson because we brought this issue to light. And concerning the fact that whenever we read the course catalogs available with Texas A&M, whenever we're selecting courses, they don't specifically give us very much to go off of. What are the requirements of the course? What we expected? What is the purpose of the course itself? What we're trying to learn? Some of them give the specification of saying, this sociology course will teach you the aspects of gender equality or gender studies. That's fantastic. So are we going into history? Are we going into gender operating procedure, how it would work in the workplace? What are we talking about? We asked in this bill that the administration simply have a standard operating procedure in constructing these descriptions for our course catalogs, so that whenever students are choosing their courses, they can be better informed, and they don't have to go to third-party resources such as MyEDU or Chegg or anything like that to learn more about the courses, but you just simply use university section official resources.
Okay, the presenters are open for questions. We'll begin by recognizing Finance Chair Hood.
Chair Hood, Finance. How does this bill specifically circumvent the possibility that different professors teaching the same course might have drastically different requirements and expectations for that course?
Yeah, it's departmental. So in the context of the bill, it asks that departments themselves put forth descriptions, and with the professors having to adhere to the subject of the course, more than likely they would be able to function underneath the same description, even if they have different expectations. If they have the same subject and they have the same course requirements, then it should be pretty uniform.
With that, we'll recognize Pro Tem Dean.
Pro Tem Dean, off-campus, professional preface.
Brandon.
So for like International Studies 41, it's just a class that contains international studies, similar class seniors have to take. That's all the course catalog says right now. Professors are allowed to choose their own, I guess, subtopics. But those subtopics also have to be picked, because I know I'm registering right now and I have no idea what I'm taking this semester.
This is just, I just want more specification. It's not saying that they have to present all the topics in the course catalog. It's just, right now, it's just 1 to 3 sentences. But I just want more specification. I mean,
actually, we have a very similar course in poli-sci. It's called controls class. And in controls class, the one that I took, is specified in teaching immigration studies. But I didn't know about it until the week of the course, so I understand where the concern comes from. And so in here, what it would ask those particular courses to do is to encompass which subjects those courses that have those what are referred to as specifications would have.
With that, we'll recognize Senator Riojas.
Senator Riojas on campus. Are you all aware that currently all students can examine and still like previous semesters for more information about
With that, we'll recognize Chair Page.
Chair Page, academic affairs, and to kind of add what was just mentioned, what would this bill, should it pass and should it actually happen, add to the fact that you can go back and look at past syllabi, which typically will explain a course quite well, or at least as well as you could expect to get from the department at any rate.
So whenever we came here first as freshmen, we didn't exactly have open access to all syllabi unless we emailed the professors, and in many instances our professors are outside until maybe about a month before school, sometimes even about a week before school. That happens to me pretty often. So the purpose of this would be to make sure that all students, particularly freshmen, are able to access a uniform scanned long-form version of course descriptions and wouldn't have to rely on specifically petitioning for syllabi to access or specifically requesting for additional information. They would have it all in one place.
And this is an issue also for new professors. I had a new professor last semester, and it was a communication class, and I usually take those classes because they are easier. And, but anyways, she was a brand new professor, and I didn't like the class. I made a C in it. I didn't like anything about it, but I made a C. And she didn't have fast syllabi because she's from Florida, so.
All right, with that, we recognize Senator Brage. That is withdrawn. We'll recognize Senator Day.
Senator Day, College of Science. So I'm seeing here it says to improve the purpose of the course, expectations, course content, and required materials. Commissioner Travis?
We have a minute, so just get to your question as you can, as quick as you can.
Sure. In the College of Physics, we have E&M. There's 2 different sets of it. They're named exactly the same. They use 2 completely different sets of textbooks and stuff. How would this account for that? They're named exactly the same in every single catalog. It's just which one do you toss into?
They can have subcategories in these catalogs. They actually have them currently. So there was categorized certain courses, like the controls class that we were just talking about with the international relations one, but they have different specific missions or specific topics, but they run under the same course name. Therefore, there can be specification down to your specific content and context.
Especially for section number 2, because most of the questions that people are asking are like, is it a general course thing? I just wanted each particular professor to be more specific for their section, for their class, individually, so.
With 17 seconds, we'll recognize Senator Cuvier.
Senator Cuvier, College of Rhodes. I was just wondering, would you be willing to entertain the idea of amending the bill to say, put up a past syllabi with a link to the past syllabi within the course catalog, because that might solve some of the issues y'all are having, help freshen access. I also deal with that. I've had
That time for question and answer, pending a motion to extend. That Senator Hunt, do you have a motion?
Senator Hunt and off-campus caucus, I motion to extend the period of question and answer by 1 minute.
There's been a motion to extend by 1 minute. It's been duly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Nay. The years of the chair, that passes. Senator Cuvier, you have recognition. Please continue your question.
Yeah, so I've had class put up syllabi like the day before class starts. So I was just wondering if you'd be willing to consider that.
Yes, very. That actually was something we considered because when it came to access to such syllabi, it was very difficult. Therefore, we would want to make it more difficult if we specifically ask for every course's syllabi. But with that idea, that would be very prudent, very available as well.
With 30 seconds, we'll recognize Senator Lewis. Withdrawn. We'll recognize Chair Page.
Chair Page, academic affairs. Is it not true that every student, once they get assigned a Howdy login, is able to access the course syllabi, the course catalog, which links to the syllabi within at least a couple of years, or a minimum, very, very much minimum 1 year prior to when they're enrolled?
It's true. The name of the bill is to improve the course catalog itself. So we're not asking for much else than to add specific content so that they're better informed, so that Grayson or myself or anybody else in here will be better prepared for their courses and able to access all of the material in a
With that, the period of question and answer has expired. This bill is referred to the Academic Affairs Committee. Are there any more bills for open sessions? Senator Rosino.
I have a bill for codifying fish aids.
Are there any seconds to hear this bill? Seeing multiple seconds, Senator Rosian, please come forward and present your bill.
I emailed it to the.
You may begin.
After the big debate with our last bill, I sat down with Becca and Nick and I sat down with Becca and we discussed just, codifying her version, and she was all for it. I took exactly what she said. I emailed it to her. I've yet to get back, hear back from her because our final meeting was yesterday. So I told her that we can still make any changes if she doesn't like the wording to it in committee. but it's pretty simple. She was all for it.
Yeah, so just to very much clarify this, because we had an issue with fish aids early this semester, and I don't want the two to be lumped together. Again, as Rosine said, this is something that was we had a conversation with Becca Trosper, who is the director of fish aids. You know, exactly what she dictated to us is what we wrote into the bill. So this isn't anything that Senate's trying to pull over on fish aids. This isn't anything controversial. This is something fish aids is completely in agreement with. Again, we're waiting a specific statement from her, but we have 2 weeks before we vote on it. This is something that she's going to run by Daniel, who's the new director of fish aids, coming up as well. And, you know, if we do not have their full support, we're going to change it to where we do. This isn't something we're trying to create a problem. There are absences in the code where it's, you know, where it's allowed for selection processes to be added for the different committees within SGA. We're just attempting, you know, when I say we, this is mostly Rosine, because this is kind of his upcoming spot in the Senate to fill in these spots and give it so we have actual, you know, we have these absences that are in the code filled in. This isn't anything that's, again, should be controversial. There should be a problem. And if should Becca or should someone from Fish Aids come in and speak against this, then I implore you guys to vote against it when it comes up again for a second reading. But everything here is amenable to both parties, and it's just to kind of formalize the process that they agreed upon. So,
and part of the reason, like, we already have there the section of the code that's blank that calls for the selection process and anything like that. One reason if it goes smoothly with fish aids, I'd like to do this with the rest, because I think part of the issue we had originally with fish aids and not being able to have our fish aids do what we would like and whatnot was just because we didn't quite understand the selection process as well as we should. If we have all of them codified, there's no question. You can just go look at it in the code and then discuss specifics from there, and rather than going from a blank sheet and just having he said, she said. So it's all pretty cut and dry.
Any questions?
With that, we're open to questions. Are there any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, this bill is referred to the Rules and Regulations Committee. Are there any other bills for open session? Senator Hess, please stand and briefly describe your bill.
Senator Hess, College Engineering. I called for the Pirate Square bill, sent it to Pro Temp email, and what it's about is Pirate Square is closing, and that's the only restaurant engineers have.
Is there a second to hear this bill? With multiple seconds, Senator Hess, come down and please describe your bill. You have 15 minutes.
Howdy, Senate. Howdy. So, one of the cashiers at Pirate Square recently told me that Pirate Square was closing permanently once the semester ended. Nick and I emailed some of the administrators that we could get an answer from. Luckily, we got an answer back, and the rumors were true. Pirate Square is closing. And not only that, it's being replaced with civil engineering labs. And their reasoning for it is so they can give civil engineering services over giving engineers food. They want to put in 25,000 engineers and have them all starve to death. So pretty much what this bill is supposed to do, and I highly recommend we send it to SS, but what this bill is supposed to do is simply give us a second chance. Because it's ridiculous that they want to replace it with civil engineering services, and not only that, they want to replace it with Starbucks once the new Zachary building is done. And forecast shows that it won't be done at least till next spring. And I'm sure Chair Page can help with that if he knows the right date, but.
Yeah. So from the email correspondence I received from the person in charge of this decision, or this person who's very, very knowledgeable of this decision, is it came from the Department of Engineering. The Department of Engineering, the College of Engineering requested this from Dining Services. This wasn't a Chartwell's decision. This was not a logistics problem with anybody who's running PIR, excuse me. This is something they requested in order to move these services to there. And this bill is simply saying that we do not like this, all right? We want to be able to lobby this with the administration, with the Department with the College of Engineering, and say, you know, affirm the fact that
Peanut Gallery could please stay in order.
Thank you, Speaker Mitchell. I appreciate your attention, guys. But basically, we want to be able to have that conversation with Dean Banks, with the College of Engineering, and say, this is a very important resource for our engineers, for our students in that section of campus, because around Sabisa, around the MSC, we have tons of food options. I'm sure you guys probably wouldn't like if Panda closed, but all the same, you have multiple food options within that area. Around this section of campus, where the engineers and where these particular students typically are, which is a huge focus of our school, there are very few food options. And when you're on campus 12 hours a day or something, food is actually very important. You don't want to walk 30 minutes. Sometimes you don't have time to walk 30 minutes to go grab a burger somewhere else and come back to where you are. So again, this is it seems kind of inconsequential. It's a very important thing to the students in that area, and I think that we should take it seriously and we should put this through.
And I'm just gonna start picking back off that. Think about having McCain Hall. It was almost a blatant attack on students and the services that A&M needs to provide to their students. They're taking away, like I said, the only restaurant now, or the only food establishment in the engineering campus, pretty much. So, with that, as you see up here, it's pretty rash right now, and I want this to a committee so we can actually flesh something out, so we can get in contact with these administrators and find out why exactly it's happening and what they're going to do to enable our survival, quite frankly.
Yeah, to be very clear, the language in this bill might not be 100% refined, but this is because we received this notification literally, 8 or 10 hours ago. So something quickly was put forward to the Senate. We want this to be going through the committee process because this is the last time we have to actually introduce something where it can still be passed in this session. And this is going to be happening during the summer, so I think it's very important that we have something able to be passed. If we find that it's not an issue and we disagree with it later on, we can hold it in committee, we can kill it on the floor. By all means, that is your absolute right. But all the same, we want the ability to, should this be something that we all agree on, push forward with before it's too late. Anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right, welcome to questions.
All right, beginning the 10-minute period of question and answer, we'll start with ad hoc chair Clark.
Ad hoc chair Clark on campus. Is the reason, well, we know what the reason why they're closing it, they're trying to put extra lights in there. But is that reason because Power Square is not getting the use that it needs?
So, sure, yeah. So, again, everything I'm saying is based off of about 2 or 3 email correspondences, again, because this is a very, very recent issue. So, forgive me if this is 100% accurate, but to my knowledge, it has not anything to do with the logistics or the financial feasibility of Power Square. It is purely the fact that the College of Engineering, who specifically requested this, again, this was not a Chartwell's decision. And for those who aren't aware, Chartwell's is the person who caters most dining on campus. It was not their decision. It had nothing to do with their purview. There was a College of Engineering who requested that they move out or they close indefinitely this summer in order to allow civil engineering services to be placed in that location. So to try to answer your question very directly, I am not aware at all that this is a failure on Power Square. To my knowledge, it is very almost overutilized establishment. So financially, it shouldn't be a concern in the decision making of this.
And just to piggyback off that, in my opinion, Power Square is a lucrative business. It is, quite frankly, overpriced food, and it's used and almost full about the whole time it's open, however the 8 hours, whatever it's open. And honestly, it's a lucrative business. And as a frequent Power Square goer, I think if I can admit that, I think maybe it has some sort of meaning.
Thank you. Very well. We'll now go on to Senator Lewis.
Senator Lewis on campus. Has there been any consideration for the new spaces that are being renovated to actually look into those locations to see if venues are going to be opened in there, or legislate, or if there's any consideration for actually legislating for venues to be in those places?
Well, like Chair Page said, we got this notification today that it was like confirming that Power Square is going to be no more once summer comes around. We have not been able to look into that. We drafted this today simply so that we could just tell you guys and let you guys know about it. And like Chair Page said, we just need to get this in committee, and so we can actually go do that research, go find out if we can get these renovated spaces to get more food establishments. And not only that, like I said, we want to put a Starbucks in the new EEC, which is the new Zachary building, which is right next to Power Square. It's a Starbucks. It's not necessarily a food establishment. And so as far as renovated spaces go, I think EEC I don't think personally the administration that is doing it, they may have thought about it, but they did not make it, they did not present it to us that they've thought about besides that Starbucks.
Yeah, so just to very briefly sum that up, I sat in a TSAC meeting today that went over all the construction on campus, and let me tell you, it's probably not something any of you guys realize. There's a lot of construction going on here across all of West Campus, even across campus, et cetera. Zachary Complex, the EEC, as you mentioned, is the only major thing in that area within probably a 10-minute walking distance that would be of any merit to your question. And yes, there's a Starbucks going into the Zachary Complex, which is probably a 6-minute walk from the Starbucks in Evans, so it's really not that much of a load reliever. Pi R Square is a completely different type of food establishment. It actually has, I guess, what you would consider a lunch or a dinner selection as opposed to bakery snacks. So I think that's the only consideration that is in planning at this point that I'm aware of. And I don't think that it quite compensates for the closure.
With that, we will go on to Chair Carlson with 5 minutes and 55 seconds remaining.
Chair Carlson, Student Services, who have you guys been corresponding with back and forth on this issue?
So it went originally to, I forget his first name, but Leland, who is the Vice President of Operations of Chartwells, I believe, and he forwarded that to Robert Davila, who is in charge of, in some way, dining at A&M.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we will move on to Senator Strother with 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Senator Strother, have you talked to the Student Engineering Council about this and wrote them in?
No, we have not. Again, this is very recent, a thing. Again, 8 hours ago, we actually received a response from the correspondence we sent out a couple days ago. Student Engineers Council has not been consulted, but I believe that this is something they would probably, again, this is me personally, probably feel amenable to our cause with. However, this has not been confirmed or even discussed with them.
Very well. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. This bill will be referred to the yes chairs.
I have a bill for consent.
Okay, I'll recognize you after I refer this to the Student Services Committee, which it is referred to Student Services Committee. Chair Song.
I have a bill for consent.
Yes, sir. Please briefly state the purpose of your bill.
It's the Build Abolishment Act.
Is there a second to the Build Abolishment Act? There are multiple seconds. If you please come forward, you'll have 15 minutes beginning at howdy. Please stand.
Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Howdy. There's a committee in student government called Building Young Leaders Talent. Unfortunately, after the last 3 years, they haven't done the one thing that they purportedly do, which is host their Building Young Leaders Talent Conference. In fact, they've done a lot of practices like requiring W-9s for refunds that have made a lot of people angry and upset with student government. I have met with Build. I know Chair Hood has exchanged a lot of emails with them. Speaker Mitchell has met with them personally, and SVP Benino has met with them personally. We specifically said to them, we will do anything we can to help you guys. Why didn't y'all request money this year? And their representative said, we don't want your money, we don't need your money. We don't really see any benefit from student government, and it's my opinion, I think it's shared by a lot of the people I just mentioned, that they're in fact a detriment to the Student Government Association brand because they just canceled their conference for this year. And seeing that neither of us really see a mutualistic benefit going forward, the time has come to remove them from student government and let them function on their own if they so desire. With that, I'm open to questions.
Are there any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, this bill is referred to the Rules and Regulations Committee. Are there any other bills? Yes, Senator Sweet.
He was first.
Okay, Senator Rosie.
I have a bill, the bylaw cleanup bill, Ash.
Is there a second here, the bylaw cleanup?
No bill, just.
There are multiple seconds. If you please come forward about 15 minutes beginning.
I emailed it. Howdy, y'all. So as I've gone through and read some more of the bylaws after getting confirmed for RR for the 69 session, I've seen multiple issues within the code, just mainly grammatical and stuff. Just it's really not that fun to read because there's spaces where there shouldn't be, and it looks really bad. And so if I'm gonna have to read it anyway, I'm gonna make it look nice for myself. And so So basically, I'm just going through, and as I find things, I'm marking it down, and I'm going to highlight all of it once I'm done. But I've already, started making my way down through the code, and want to make everything cleaned up. The only major change I've made right now is the governance council. It's a group of all of IA, and then the executive branch, and then the J-Court Chief Justice. And right now they're required to meet twice before every regular session. And after talking to Hannah Wimberly, we decided they only needed to meet once a month, and so I changed that. So that's it. I yield the questions.
Begin questions with Senator Yohas.
Senator Yohas on campus. So I've been looking through the code every once in a while now, and one thing I find is, in addition to maybe like weird spacing and that sort of thing, it's also kind of hard to read in general because it's like a gigantic SGA logo that's like in color, and it's rather hard to read. Have you thought maybe making that a little easier to read as well?
Are you talking like at the very beginning?
Or to my knowledge, it's all throughout.
Okay, maybe I just get used to it after staring at it for forever. But yeah, if I need to, like, we can either, change it up. However, if y'all have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Whatever makes it easier for everybody to read the code, I'd love that. It means I have to do it a little less if everybody knows the code well. So.
I'll go ahead and recognize myself. Senator Rosine, was the watermark put into the SGA code? Was it not put into the SGA code only for the beginning pages? And is it also very easy to read the text of the beginning pages if you do not read any Google Docs? And was that watermark not also put in by a very experienced and competent rules and regulations chair, Mitchell?
So I'm going to word this carefully. Yes, as far as I know, it's only in the first couple pages of the document. I didn't have much trouble reading it, and as far as I know, the person who added it was our current speaker. So.
We'll go to Chair Page.
Chair Page, Academic Affairs, Commission's preference.
Yes.
I'll start by saying I think it's absolutely absurd that we have such a very, very visible and ridiculously colored watermark that's really obscures the text of the important code. But my question is, whoever put that in, would it be possible to decrease its opacity by, 1 or 2% if that aids the senators?
Yes, we can mess with the watermark. That's not a big issue. If that's the biggest issue, I'm happy that that's the biggest issue with the code.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Senator Rosine.
With that, we'll go to Senator Strauss. We'll now go to Chair Hood.
Chair Hood, Finance. I'm going to refer this to the Rules and Regulations Committee.
The Regulations Committee has been made and seconded. Is there any debate against moving this bill to the Rules and Regulations Committee? Seeing none, debate is one-sided. We'll now move, you have a motion? Okay, we'll now move to a period of voting. All in favor of moving this bill to the Rules and Regulations Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. And that passes. And I have Senator Sweet, and then we'll go to you. Senator Sweet.
I have a bill for open session.
Yes, sir.
It's entitled "Make A&M Great Again" Act.
Are there any seconds? There are multiple seconds. If you will come forward, I'll have 15 minutes beginning at a howdy. I'm excited to hear this.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
So what I'm about to say does not necessarily represent my political views, but here it goes. So, as y'all know, we're students here. I'm a student here, I'm a second-year student, and I just feel like there's a lot of issues surrounding campus, and I want to make A&M great again. And it's going to be this bill here that's behind me, or will be behind me soon, is going to be huge. Now, it's not going to involve a wall. It's not going to involve a wall. It's not going to involve, making that university down in Austin pay for all of this. But I figured time's running out. I wasn't reelected. As much as people love me, I'm not coming back next year. So I just thought I'd go up and bang. So here it goes. I'm not sure if this right. I'm not perfect at writing legislation, but this is from the heart, from me, Senator Sweet, to y'all. First thing is, how many of y'all have smartphones? How many of y'all have smartphones battery lasts all day long? All right, so maybe I just have a crappy phone, but the point here is that I feel that besides the campus, the math students here, the only charging stations I can ever find is in the MSC downstairs at Panda, and most of the time they're full. So I think if airports like DFW can have charging stations, we can have some charging stations as well. Also, how many of you have actually tripped walking on the sidewalks here going to class? Anyone here? All right. I mean, I've tripped on it. I've seen people trip on it. It's a hazard. It's horrible. We're one of the best universities here, I believe, in Texas. I'm not even from Texas, but I believe it's one of the best universities here. I think we should have better sidewalks. So we need to have better sidewalks and crosswalks where it needs to happen. Anyone in here eat on campus? Raise your hand. All right. Anyone in here have any dietary constraints like myself who's trying to lose some weight? All right. Now, how hard is that to do when you'll have very few options and all of it's not necessarily the most healthiest thing to be eating? I think we need better food here on campus. And I also believe we need to have a Subway because that's awesome. On a more serious note, are any of y'all here transfer students? Okay. Any of y'all here veterans? Enlisted, prior enlisted, or veterans? I know Senator Luce was a veteran in the Marine Corps. But I just want to publicly thank him for his service, even though he's not here. I have a friend that, you know, I'm told, like, I have some friends that are transfer students, not all credits transfer. Okay, I understand not everything works out perfectly, but I think we could be better in gearing towards transfer students that can transfer here to A&M, because we obviously want to. I myself have some credits totally transferred, but if they didn't, it wouldn't hurt me as well. As for veterans, I really do believe that if you're enlisted, they have you go through technical schools and learning all this education and skills and work that could probably apply to credits, but we give them nothing so that they could relearn it and take it through classes again and again. We need more money. I feel like we owe them at least that much since they've given part of their life and their commitment to our country. We can at least help them out by giving them. And we all know about the no hats in MSC, right? Has anyone noticed how, nothing against the food workers there, I love them, they get the food when I want food, but sometimes they wear hats because of health policies. Does anyone else notice that? I think we should at least attempt to change that, so I at least ask them to wear other nettings for health purposes. I understand why they wear hats. But if MSC, I think it should be all across the board because it's not discriminatory against students or non-students. It's to show respect to the Aggie Civ die for this country and for the So that's just what I've seen over this semester. I know I probably organized this bill wrong, but I wanted to go out with a bang. I realized this is the last time I can present something to the body before I leave. So this is what I have for you. Again, let's make A&M great again. Are
there any questions for our presenter? We'll begin with Chair Page.
That was a question with John.
Oh, sorry. We'll go with Senator Strong.
Senator Strong, are you implying by the title of your bill that A&M is not already great?
That's a loaded question. I think we're great, but we can always be better.
Chair Page.
Chair Page, Acting Affairs, would you be able to change the name of the bill? Make Texas A&M greater now.
We'll go to Senator Rosie.
I have a motion. Move this to the SS committee.
Motion moved to SS committee has been made. Is there any, is there any debate against this bill? Seeing, yes, Chair Carlson. Please come forward to the front.
Chair Carlson, City Services. I can't think of a good reason to debate against this. I just felt like this bill didn't deserve its time being discussed, so I was going to come up here, opportunity to give someone else a chance to debate for us, so we can talk a little bit more about it. I yield the floor, I guess.
Of course, we yield. Is there any debate for this bill? Seeing none. debate is one-sided. We'll now vote on whether or not to send this bill to the, Student Services Committee. All in favor of moving this bill to Student Services Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
And if you say that passes, are there any other bills for open session? Seeing one, Senator Renfro. Yes, sir, please briefly set the first reading bill.
A bill amending the Personal Protection Act to enhance students' ability to carry safely on campus.
Does the bill have a second? The bill has been seconded. If you can please come forward, you'll have 15 minutes beginning at howdy time, sir.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
As y'all probably already know, starting in August, students are going to be able to concealed carry on campus. And in certain buildings, it will be prohibited. And because of this, students that want to carry will, be discouraged on those days that they have class in those buildings. And they might have to go store their firearm in their car, providing a opportunity for that firearm to be stolen and fall into the wrong hands. So what this bill I'm proposing would do is add a section to the existing Personal Protection Act advocating for the development of a secured area where firearms could be stored on both west and main campus. And kind of what I envision for these areas is lockers similar to the day use lockers in the rec. And that's all I got.
Okay, I'll begin with questions, begin with myself. Would you be amenable to having several sponsors or other bill authors?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll go to Senator Powers.
Senator Powers, College of Education. You may not have the answer right now, but is there any clarification on kind of just what the gun locker would look like the safety regulations of that, and how that would make sure to be keeping students safe in that position? Just I have a lot of experience.
I haven't looked, I've looked at some lockers that are available out there. The ones I was looking at were metal with digital locks. If you've been to the Rex, you get to enter your code, and the next person will do the same thing. So that's kind of what I was looking at.
Okay, we'll now go to Senator Lutz.
Preface, you may not have the answer to this. Senator Lewis on campus. Preface, you may not have the answer to this, but say it anyway. Are actual police officers going to be in charge of manning this area? Because who's to ensure that someone using some type of security code who can easily access the digital lockers, you just walk by with an electromagnetic field and unlock every locker and just pull out a gun? So are actual police officers going to be manning these lockers?
I honestly hadn't thought of that. So, it's a possibility. Hopefully, they would be able to we could make it to where they would be monitored by camera at the very least. But
We'll now go to Ad hoc Chair Clark.
Ad hoc Chair Clark on campus. I don't know if you know the answer to this. I feel like you've been saying that. But do you think that this would increase student fees any?
It would be a one-time fee to get the lockers installed. And the ones that I was looking at are right there. It's a bank of 12 lockers for right around $1,100. So I wouldn't see it. Maybe a one-time small fee, but and I don't know all the logistics of it, but we might be able to get those lockers sponsored by a locker company or safe company or something like that.
Thanks, Mark. We'll now go on to Pro Tem Deacon.
John.
We'll now go to Senator Chen.
On campus, would you be amenable to discuss this further with Finance Chair and also some of the members who are in position to carry firearms about safe storage? For protection of that particular area, and then blocking that area off in public view has been uncovering your firearm would result in blocking a safe on this campus or possible deaths. Would you be able to discuss about that?
Absolutely.
Well, now go to Chair Hood.
Chair Hood, Finance. Have you looked at other areas or other gun transfer zones, for example, in federal buildings, they actually have places where you can't enter with a firearm, so they have places where you can take the firearm and deposit it safely and retrieve it once you're in. Have you looked at all into the process that they use in those federal buildings and if we can emulate that on campus in Texas A&M?
I mean, I've heard about them, but I haven't like studied them. So, no, not really.
Okay, absolutely.
And we'll now go on to Senator Murtaugh.
Senator Murtaugh, Campus Commissioner Preface.
Yes, sir.
So I'm as for the Second Amendment as they come, but I do see a potential, if this isn't done correctly, to make it a lot less safe. Rather than storing it in your car where you used to go to Lot 100 and you have no idea what car has a gun, you're gonna have them all in one particular location, with potentially lockers that are, you have the possibility of getting broken into when somebody with malintent would know that they're all there. So are you willing to work with College Station Police Department to make sure that these lockers are up to code and not only have cameras where we would see after the fact that they've been stolen, but a security guard posted?
I mean, yeah, I don't know all the logistics of that, but I mean, for sure.
We'll now go on to Senator Potts.
Senator Potts on campus, would you charge students to use these lockers?
If, I hadn't thought about it, but if we couldn't get, these lockers donated or whatnot, we could do like a coin system, coin operated lockers or something like that, that would allow them to be paid off through that way. But I haven't thought about it.
Going on to Chair Page.
Chair Page, Academic Affairs, I have a motion to send this to Student Services Committee.
Motion to send to Student Services Committee has been made and seconded. Is there any, if you could please make it, or is there any debate against sending this bill to Student Services Committee? Seeing none, debate is one sided. We'll now vote on sending this bill to Student Services Committee. All in favor of sending this bill to the Student Services Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Nay. This bill is sent to the Student Services Committee. Are there any other bills for open session? Seeing no, I know session is closed. We'll now move to a period of committee reports, beginning with Chair Lander.
Howdy. I don't have any new business. So yeah, no meeting. Thank you.
Are you having a committee meeting?
No.
Okay, excellent. Are there any questions for Chair Lander? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now go to Chair Hood.
Chair Hood, Finance. There will be no committee meeting between now and the next meeting. Just a very brief update. Just because with the budget, things do happen. Fish Aids requested that $50 be moved from, Fish Aids requested $50 be moved from a fee that they expected to pay for a room rent for the custodial banquet. It turned out it's $200 instead of $250. So $50 was moved to food. For the sake of transparency, that's under the code and it's just done by the Vice President of Finance. It fell under a certain percentage. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And with that, I hope no questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now go to Chair Page.
Chair Page, Academic Affairs. This is something I don't think anybody's done before, so I'm gonna walk out here and talk to you guys for a minute. I figured I'd update you on a couple things that are going on in Academic Affairs and then say a few words. First of all, thank you guys for a great year. I won't belabor this point too much, but I think you've all done very great work, and I'm excited for the 69th session. I'll leave it at that. Going on, so there's a lot of things going through Faculty Senate right now. We had a meeting with Faculty Senate to present like 8 bill ideas that have passed through this body, but recently that's kind of been pushed off for reasons pertaining to the Executive Committee thinking we need to discuss this more. So should these things not actually come to pass in this session, I very much implore you guys to renew them in the 69th should you feel fit. I'll go and very, very briefly fill you in on these things. So academic transparency, which is giving students all students midterm grades, was received very well with the modification that instead of giving A, B, C, D grades, we give a numerical grade with a class average and standard deviation, because a lot of times your actual grade depends upon, you know, how well you do in correlation to the class, because there's a curve applied at the end. That's really hard to replicate halfway through. So I think that's a fantastic modification proposed by the Speaker of the Faculty Senate. I think that's something we should really move forward with, especially if this is reintroduced. The Distinguished Student Bill, this is something that, you know, allows students to be recognized as distinguished students, whether this is honor roll or dean's list, based on the fact that they are full-time students, not the fact that they take 15 hours, which there are particular things set in place. So if you're graduating that semester, you can take the 6 hours you need to graduate and you're considered full-time. So if you're taking those 6 hours you need, I think you should be able to be recognized if you make it through over 3.5 as, you know, the honor that you should have received. Again, that's something that was received pretty well, but we just might need additional work on. Course end date establishment, which is saying that after your final exam for a course, that course is over. This might not be an issue for a lot of you guys, but sometimes it comes to the fact you take your final exam and you have 4 or 5, you know, well, not 4 or 5, you have a project due for that class afterwards, so you have homework due for that class afterwards, and then honestly, this can go up into the point that final grades are due, which is 5 days after the end of final exam, typically, unless you're graduating. So it's kind of a, not necessarily a loophole, but it's something that hasn't been addressed in the student rules that I think definitely should be, because it affects a lot of students. A lot of you guys expect, you know, as soon as final exams are over, you're out of here, you're going to a job, you're going to vacation, whatever. But then your professor says, hold on, I'm going to assign you something right now. And right now, you have no way to combat that. So I think it's something we should definitely address. And again, that was received very well also, but it might just take more time to go through the bureaucracy that is ANAD. Course drop date, this is something being pushed by Faculty Senate. You guys have 12 days to drop a course. If you didn't know that, now you do. We're trying to change the calendar. Again, this might just take more time. I think this is something we don't have to worry about, because I think it will be addressed in this session. But all the same, if not, I'm making you guys aware it's going through Faculty Senate at this time, and hopefully, again, it will be addressed. Google Fiber support. This is, Google Fiber is Google's solution to internet, phone, and TV, comparable to Suddenlink, what we have here. I'm sure you guys love Suddenlink, right? Exactly what I wanted to hear. So we have City Council support for this. We have support from the Chief Information Officer at Texas A&M, the CIO, the CTO as well. We're engaging support for with the system CIO, as well as the Provost IT department, because IT is broken up into academic IT and infrastructural IT. So we're just trying to gain more support before we send this forward. Those conversations are kind of slow in coming, because we're waiting on replies to emails to set up meetings and all that. But I wanted you guys to know where we're sitting on that. It may or may not happen, but I think it's something we should continue to push for every year until it does. Also, probably most important on a lot of your guys' mind is the interview absence bill. This is something we're pushing very hard with Faculty Senate for, and it's something we came into the most roadblocks with. Kind of the sentiment I've gained from talking with people in Faculty Senate is it's almost a slippery slope. When we start allowing absences for any kind of interviews, it can allow problems, people making this up to avoid tests, etc. So we're having to modify the wording of the bill a bit to say, well, maybe you have to approve the fact of an interview from, you know, a letter from company letterhead or something like that, stating that this was an unavoidable issue or interview and this is something very important to you. So all the same, I don't think, you know, we're not worried about allowing this exception for people who are abusing it. We're worried about allowing this exception for people who actually have an interview and are really trying to pursue a job outside A&M, which is probably half the reason, or at least maybe more than that, why we came here. So get a job outside. So you guys, this is me asking you, if you have a particular you know, suggestion or something, how we can maybe modify this to make faculty more amenable to this this proposition, I would love to hear it, because I think it'll help, and I think it'll go a long way in getting this passed. Because ultimately, what we're about here is we're about getting things done and getting measurable differences for the students at A&M. If you haven't received the email, this is probably only people in engineering. I know we have 9 engineering centers. We might have other people in engineering that ran off campus, etc. There's a Zachary committee, which is meeting, a committee meeting to doing town halls with students that are informing them of kind of what they're planning to do with the classrooms in Zachary. And if you guys aren't aware, this is a multi-million-dollar building that's being rebuilt. something that even if you're not engineering will impact you because it is set as a standard for future classrooms, or at least a test bed for future classrooms. So you may have a classroom coming up in business, for example, in 4 years.
One information, Chair Carlson, how much time is the presenter?
So committee reports, and the great 67th RR chair wrote this legislation in, so that's why I know. But basically, a committee report can go on for as long as you want, as long as the rules and regulations chair deems that is pertaining to their committee. So, Chair Carlson can, pull him at any minute, but that being said, there's no time limit, as long as it's pertaining, as long as Chair Carlson says it pertains to it.
So Chair Carlson can't actually say anything.
Sure,
But all in the same, I only have a couple more points, and I apologize if I'm wasting your guys' time. But all the same, so again, this is a test bed for future classrooms. It is something that could affect you no matter if you're engineering, if you're anything, because it's a very, very high profile project. I recommend that you either go, or recommend any engineering students you do, to go to these town halls and offer their opinion, because whatever happens there, if it works well, you could see it very much in the future, whether it's you or people coming after you. And
yes, Senator Rosine.
Senator Rosine, College of Science, point of personal information. When was this? Should it be in the code now? Or was it recently changed?
It should be. It's under.
Okay, so last big thing is the Open Educational Resources Award. This is something that's very, very high profile and relevant to all of you. So what the Open OER Award is an award that's...
Point of order. Chair Hood, Finance. I'm looking in the code, and it says committee report shall be offered by the chair of each respective committee and shall not exceed a time of 5 minutes.
If that is indeed the case, then I wrote a different rule, but anyways, we're pulling you. All right, let's go to Chair Committee. Yes.
Church Council rules and regulations. At the conclusion of the committee report, questions and answers are recognized.
Okay, indeed. President Dean, please say it.
President Dean, off campus, is there anything else you wanted to add?
My time isn't over yet, but yes, there is. Never ended it. There was no timer saying I ran out of 5 minutes. Somebody proved that. Anyway, thank you for your question. I will address it. I appreciate that. The OER award is something very relevant to all of you. We cannot block tuition increases. We cannot decrease the cost of tuition. We might be able to block that once in a while, and that's fantastic when we do. And I think we should always push for that. But it's not something that's going to happen every time. So the OER award is an award that recognizes faculty, and it's very important because this is something encouraging faculty to use free textbooks, to use free educational resources.
Senator Brown.
Senator Brown, engineering, motion to adjourn.
The motion to adjourn has been made. Is there a second? Are you seconding or are you just raising your hand? If your second has been made, all in favor of adjourn, please say aye. Aye. All those who say nay.
Nay.
You fail. Okay. Let's go back to Chair Committee.
All right. So anyway, this is something being covered by the BAT. I encourage you guys to encourage other students to apply for this award for professors because it's going to lower the cost of your education. You give a crap about that? Fantastic. I'm sorry for you, those of you who don't. The last thing I have to say is my committee.
Senator Lewis, you have a motion. Senator Trump, you have a motion. The motion is essentially to measure 1/6 seconds. Seeing not a 1/6 second, you may continue.
Thank you guys for the kind welcome and me actually updating you on what's been happening in my community. I appreciate that. Very last thing I want to say is my committee meeting will be on April 19th. This is at 7 p.m. And we have one piece of legislation to discuss, but also we will be deciding the professors who will receive this Open Educational Resources Award. This is fully sponsored by the libraries. It's going to be a really nice ceremony in the Cushing's Library. I encourage all you guys in academic affairs to come. Even if you're not, come on in, help us out. If you guys want to call me out of order for inviting people not in my committee to actually partake in committee process, I don't care. Go for it. But all the same, I think your opinion is very valid, and I think this could be awesome. We're going to make a lot of great strides. 3 universities in the United States or in the nation have already, outside of the nation, have already followed and adopted the processes that we put forth. 2 universities within the United States and 1 in Canada is copying the award that we've made. We haven't handed them out yet. So all the same, this is something very awesome. Texas A&M the back end. So again, apologize for taking all of your guys' time, but I hope you guys are a little bit more well-informed about what's going on in academic affairs now. Thank you.
We'll now go to Senator Lewis with 45 seconds remaining.
Oh, okay, all right. Permission?
Very quickly, you got.
Senator Lewis on campus office. So I know people who are at the end of the semester, they finish their semester and they have things that are going on. And they sometimes have to do that like after final. So like you have like a week or so after final to like still do work and turn stuff in.
20 seconds.
So does legislation that's currently going through address students like that, who sometimes have to make up things at the very, very end of the semester past time?
10 seconds.
So I appreciate a motion to extend, but to try to answer your question very quickly.
You have a motion, Senator Powers?
Senator Powers, call the resolution. I motion to extend the period of questioning by a minute.
17 seconds.
A minute, motion to extend by a minute has been made. Is there a second? All in favor of saying question and answer by a minute, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Nay. With that, we have 10 seconds remaining. That's sure that fails.
Okay, so it does not specifically address that. Basically, the course would end on the date or the day and time of your final exam, and professors have to actually assign anything that would be due prior to 1 week before of the final exam date. So you have at least a week to finish up whatever it would be. That's all.
With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We will now go to Chair Payne.
Chair Payne, CR. I just have a couple of things I want to say. I'm just kidding with you guys. No, we don't have any bills, so don't expect a meeting. For those of you that are in CR, the group has been pretty dead lately, really low energy. So meetings and funny pictures are appreciated. Doesn't always have to be in relation to legislation at times. So that's it. That's all I got. Questions?
Are there any questions for Chair Payne? Seeing none? What is there one? No?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll now go to Chair Carlson.
Chair Carlson, Student Services. I guess we're gonna have a meeting same time, same place. Place TBD actually. Same time then next Wednesday at 6. Again, same thing as last week, goes to the 69th. I'll give you plenty of time to get to your meeting at 7 o'clock. We do have legislation. We have one very interesting bill about making Texas A&M great again. That's so if anyone wants to come help us out with that one, you're more than welcome. Other updates, the bus names for Route 40 and Route 9 were approved today at the TSAC meeting. It's going to be Vet School and Century Tree. Told you guys that a couple of weeks ago, but pretty much the same. Nothing new. It's just official now. Lots of construction going on campus, including moving Pyre Square and that kind of stuff. I don't know the specific details about that. I'll ask dining and figure out what the deal is. I remember that conversation was had at our last QDAC meeting, which was the very beginning of March. So it's been a while. We don't have another one until April 19th, so I'm gonna have to have a conversation before then, obviously. But beyond that, yeah, meeting at 6, and I'm opening up questions.
Any questions for Chair Carlson? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Chair Sankey.
Chair Saunter, Rules and Regulations. The main thing I want to alert you guys to is that the Student Rules and Regulations Committee is considering very important changes to the attendance policy here at Texas A&M. The proposal on the table right now is to go do away with notes from Butyl for medically excused absences and just recognize that we have an Aggie honor code, which should mean something. And if you say you were sick, you were sick. For an absence of less than 3 days. If you want any input into that process, or you have any questions, let me know. That being said, I'm up for questions.
Any questions for Chair Sankey? Chair Clark.
Chair Clark on campus. When is your committee meeting?
As any good member of my committee would know, since I did not assign one, it reverts back to last week's. We're gonna go to the center. Do you have a point? Please wait to be recognized or out of order. Senator Cougar, withdrawn. Chair Clark.
Chair Clark on campus, permission, well, I don't need permission, probably. When was your last meeting, the date and time?
The last meeting was the Thursday on the off week, the Tuesday on the off week at 8 p.m. at O'Bannon's. And that's when mine's assigned for.
We'll now get Senator Blair.
Senator Blair.
Please stand and address the chair, you're out of order. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move on to Pro Tem D.
All right, well, how do y'all have quite a few updates? I'll go pretty quickly to these new senators. The committee preps are on the Google Doc, on the Google Drive. So you go Senator Resources, Committees, it tells you which one you're on. And then if you have any questions about when those committee dates are, I will send out an email to let y'all know when those meetings are and remind you. A couple things for all of Senate. I'm going to be sending out an SGA leadership assessment. This is kind of a new thing or a little bit of a platform difference than what we've done in the past. So that's for all members to take. It would be really great for Jack if y'all would go ahead and do all of it and as many people as possible. And it just allows us to know how to move forward with SGA leadership in terms of development and things like that from advisors. And also the SGA awards are coming up. I'm going to send out the RSVP for that. I think you need an RSVP by next week. I think it's the 15th. So everyone's invited to come to that. So the SGA awards, it's all the committees, all the branches, we all get together and have free food and watch people get recognized for the awesome things they've done at SGA. With that being said, regular members are also still allowed to submit awards. Those are due next Monday, so I'm going to be sending that out tomorrow as well. So work on it over the weekend if you'd like to nominate someone. There's a description for the awards. It's a 2-page, double-spaced nomination. Outside of that, IA is going to be meeting on the 17th. So note that that is the Sunday after the Snook shenanigans. So you have all day to rally. So it's gonna be nighttime, so everyone doesn't have to wake up early. We're not gonna do brunch. Hydrate. And so it's gonna be at the Chicken at 8 o'clock on Sunday. And it's gonna be a joint at 7 o'clock on Sunday. Okay. So 7 o'clock Sunday, 17th. Other than that, y'all, please take note on the absences. It's up to date. Some of y'all are sitting at 5, and it would be really bad for you to all of a sudden absence out when you have 2 meetings left of your term. So don't make me send that email to y'all. Just show up. And I'm open to questions.
Senator Rosie.
Senator Rosie, College of Science, do you know what's appreciated in the week?
It's all great.
Senator Blair.
How many absences do I have?
If you go on to Senator Resources and absences, you can find it out. It's right there.
Are there any other questions for Pro Tem D? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move on to executive reports, beginning with, sorry, no, we'll go to the ad hoc Chair Clark. I lied.
So, nothing really report. I will just have a meeting Wednesday at 8:30. So just be looking on your email and sending stuff out. So.
Senator Rosie.
Is Senator Rosie, College of Science? There is a 69 session going on Wednesday at 8:30.
You're right. Well, we'll change it to Wednesday.
I just said Chair Bake. Withdrawn. Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Senator Day.
Senator College of Science, are there not members of your committee who are on other committees and might be inconvenienced by having 6 p.m. on Wednesday? Is that true? Was there other people on Wednesday at 6 p.m.?
Yeah, we did it last time and it was okay. So just let me know if you can't make it.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to executive reports, beginning with none other than SVP Joseph Nick. You have 8 minutes beginning at 8. 8, yeah, it's been 8 all year. It's been 8 all year.
Howdy. So, a few things. I was sick 2 weeks ago. I can't complain. Yeah, I know, low energy. But the meeting tonight, I think we all had, or I'm noticing, and I certainly am not innocent of this, a little bit of procrastination syndrome when we're getting a lot of new bills in the last couple of weeks, but that's okay. I'm glad that we're getting them in. Something about that I wanted to address specifically about the firearm bill to have areas on campus for people to place them. First of all, the buildings that will prohibit, specifically prohibit people from carrying guns is not official yet. The recommendations have been made to President Young. He finalizes the recommendations and they have to be approved by the Board of Regents. So that is still in flux. It will be very limited, mostly to specific areas of research, laboratories, and things like that that have magnetic fields or specific types of chemicals and things like that. For the most part, undergraduate students especially will not be affected by the specific rules. So just that was the recommendation. Now President Young can take that and change it completely. Don't expect him to do that. But for the most part, undergraduate students will not have to worry about where to take their guns into classrooms and things like that, as long as they're legally licensed and carrying them correctly and all that. Thought was also put into whether we should recommend a place for people to be able to store their weapons. The decision was not to make that recommendation because we believe it is the burden of the weapon and license holder to be able to properly plan their day around where they're going to be. And it is not, it was believed by the committee. Now, I have personal feelings about this, but the belief of the committee was that it is not the burden of the university to, make it convenient for every single person to be able to carry a weapon the way that they choose. Is we're going to set the rules and you're supposed to follow the rules, and it's your job to be able to do that. Also, you can lock your gun in vehicles, and that is generally going to be close to the standard practice. But for students who live on campus, there is a requirement in the text of the state bill that was actually passed through our state legislation to provide accommodation for students who live on campus. However, there's a very low number of students who are above 21 years old and have a concealed handgun license and live on campus. That's a very small demographic, but theoretically they will be accommodated, so there's no worry there. So that's all the gun stuff. Sorry, I spent a lot of time on those committees this year. I just wanted to give them an update there. But feel free to continue that bill. I just wanted to clarify some of that. I don't have much else. We are wrapping up. A lot of great things are going on, finishing some stuff with the city. Transitions and things are going on for our executive cabinet. But I do want to share, as the semester wraps up, and as many of you are probably looking at your GPA and wishing, like myself, that it was a little bit better. I want to share some history, some trivia, and a little bit of conspiracy theory with you that was shared with me yesterday that I just love. So if you want to tell your parents why your GPA is not as high as they think it should be, here's a little story for you, Axe. Actually, it's pretty good bull. So, and it actually, you can tell your parents that it's President Lyndon Baines Johnson's fault that your GPA is lower than it should be. So, because back in the 1960s, when we were involved in the Vietnam War, there was a draft, but a way to, dodge the draft essentially, or a way to not be drafted was to be a university student in the United States of America who did not bail out of his classes. Due to the fact that the majority of professors were liberal and against the war, whether that's correlated or not, sorry, the majority of the professors were against the war. And they did not want their students to bail out, and they protected their students from being drafted by giving an overwhelming amount of A's and B's. And the average GPA for the entire country nationwide in universities went from about a 2.7 up to now is a 3.5 nationally. Texas A&M is in the bottom 2 lowest inflated GPAs with Cornell. Our average GPA is around a 2.8. So the national average is a 3.5, ours is a 2.8, and that's because at the time we were still a primarily military university. Nobody was trying to dodge the draft here. Most of the phenomenon of the inflated grades that has now permeated and continued in the country did not occur at Texas A&M. And so now we have the lowest inflated GPAs. And so while the national average GPA is 3.5, ours remains around 2.8. And so if you want to feel a little bit better about your 2.8 GPA, it's basically 3.5 anywhere else. So tell us. So, fellow people whose GPA starts with a 2, tell that story. Tell that story in a job interview. Tell it to your parents. At the very least, it's a good story, and it shows that you're willing to shift blame onto someone else, which is definitely something that story yesterday. I thought it was really funny and good goal. So that's all I have for you. I'd love to take questions. You can all be specific.
Are there any questions for our student body president? I'll begin with myself. Did you make that story up, or is it real?
That is a real story. I swear to you that as long as what I was told was truthful, and I trust him told me the story, that really is the case. We are in the bottom 2 grade inflation. The national average is 3.5 GPA. Our average is 2.8, and it's because, arguably, I told you it's a little bit of conspiracy theory, but arguably it goes directly back to the Vietnam War when all the
Senator Emmons.
Service off campus. Would you like to comment on the travesty that occurred today in our country?
Merle. Yeah, we did lose a legend. I did not know what you're referring to per se. I thought you may be referring to like Donald Trump's chances going down or something like that. Personally, I think is a national day to celebrate. But yes, unfortunately, country music legend Merle Haggard passed away on his birthday at age 79. He will be dearly missed and beloved by all music lovers around.
Senator
Gordon. Senator Gordon, College of Architecture. In keeping with a long-standing Senate tradition, I just wanted to ask you what hair products you use to keep your hair
This is the like my patented. This look that I'm rocking today is the woke up at 5:30 a.m. to study for a test. Took the test, took a nap afterwards, threw some water in my hair, and brushed it before the Senate meeting. That's it.
Are there any questions? See none? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you guys. Thank you today.
I'll now go into my executive report, and I'll be very brief, and I'll get from the podium today. I wanted to, I don't have any great proposed or great stories that make you feel good about your bad grades or, anything like that. But what I do have is I wanted to outline the proposal that several of us in the University Rules and Regulations Committee have given to faculty regarding the new absence policy. So basically what I propose to them is a centralized system that works much like any business does their sick days. So essentially you go in, you go to Howdy, you say, I'm sick today. It doesn't require a sick note or anything else. You pledge under Agion or I'm sick. And it then disperses this information to all your professors. You get 2 sick days per semester. The reason and the motivation behind this is that it stops sick students from having to crawl their way to Butyl while they're throwing up or whatever. It also will save a lot of money in Butyl. That money is not quantifiable by any means because we don't know how many students actually use Butyl because they want medical care, or how many students use Butyl because they are sick. But there's about 14 doctors, I believe, employed at Butyl right now. Even if you were to, eliminate 17% or so of the AWOOP, or 16% AWOOP, of the activity going to Butyl, you'd save about $200,000. And my proposal was to make it to where we don't have students going to Butyl for sick notes all the time, and take the money that we save by eliminating physician positions and send that money to counseling services for psychiatrists and things like that, which are about half the price of physicians. It would alleviate a lot of burden that our student counseling services face. So that's essentially the proposal I've given to the University Rules and Regulations Committee. It's kind of a complicated issue. Just want to get it really briefly. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I think we should get the hell out of here. So are there any questions? Seeing none, let's adjourn.
Benigno. Chief Justice Smith, Speaker Mitchell. Myself. Chair Salka.
Howdy.
Page.
Howdy.
Finney. Landers.
Howdy.
Carlson.
Howdy.
Swift.
Howdy.
Bosworth. Dale.
Howdy.
Jordan. Allen.
Howdy.
Walker.
Howdy.
White. Roach. Renfro. Smith. Chapman. DeBoer. Rose. Ferguson. De Leon. Hendrick. Howard. Bastion. Hunter Brown. Nick Brown. Henderson. Hess. Lammer. Robinson. Turbin. Cook. Sweet. Bright. Hey, y'all, please stay quiet. Blair. Cox. QBR. Dupla. Luce. Schaller. Dave. Glavin. Roseanne. Hart. Lewis. Ken. Price. Riola. Blackman. Brennan. Chin. Davis. Evans. Giles. Gill. Croc. Langston. Loving. Mathis. McDonald. Mendoza. Bertha. Simpson. Dana. Stoddard. Turner.
No, we didn't have to.